The desert night has a rhythm unlike any other place in the world. As you imagine yourself stepping into the quiet expanse of West Texas, far away from the noise of cities and the weight of daily responsibilities, a calmness begins to settle in. The sky stretches endlessly above, a canopy of stars scattered like tiny lanterns across velvet blackness. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of sagebrush and dry earth. Out here, in this remote corner of the world, time itself seems to slow down, inviting you to breathe more deeply, to notice more carefully, and to rest more fully. As you walk across the gravelly earth, the crunch beneath your steps becomes softer, fading into the background hum of the desert silence. The land around you is wide, flat in some places, and subtly rising in others, broken only by low shrubs and distant mountains, whose outlines are visible in the starlight. There is a stillness here that feels ancient, as though this land has been holding secrets for longer than memory can recall. The silence is not empty, it is full of possibility, of mystery, of stories waiting to be told. With every step your mind loosens its grip on the stresses of the day. Your breathing steadies, slow and deep, as though the desert itself is teaching you to rest. The faint wind brushes against your face like a whispered invitation. If you pause, you can hear the sound of it weaving through grasses, a delicate rustle that feels almost like a lullaby. Somewhere in the distance, the cry of a night bird echoes, reminding you that life moves quietly in these wide spaces, unseen yet present. And then, just when you have begun to surrender fully to the peace of the desert, you notice something unusual on the horizon. A faint glow, no brighter than a lantern flame, flickers in the distance. At first, it could be mistaken for a star resting on the horizon line, but soon you realize it is something else entirely. The glow shifts, moving slightly to the left, then to the right, as though it is alive. It pulses gently, glowing brighter, then dimmer, but never disappearing completely. You find yourself watching, captivated, the way one watches the embers of a fire, entranced, soothed, yet deeply curious. These are the Marfa Lights, strange ethereal glimmers that have been appearing in this desert for well over a century. They do not announce themselves with any noise, nor do they explain their purpose. They simply exist, dancing, floating, flickering, beyond the reach of explanation. Some nights they appear in clusters, darting across the horizon like playful spirits. Other nights, they remain solitary, hovering silently, as if they are patiently waiting for someone to notice. For the people of Marfa, these lights are not new. They are part of the land's character, a mystery as natural to the desert night as the stars themselves. Imagine yourself sitting quietly on the cool earth, gazing out toward that horizon. The lights are far enough away to be safe, yet close enough to stir your imagination. What are they? Where do they come from? Theories have been whispered for generations, and we will explore them in time. But here, in this opening moment, it is enough simply to watch, to allow the mystery to wash over you without demand for answers. As you breathe in and out, the desert around you becomes more alive. The texture of the soil, rough but grounding beneath your hands. The soft vibration of the air, carrying hints of warmth even as the night grows cooler. The stars above, endless and uncountable, each one a reminder of vastness beyond comprehension. The Marfa Lights flicker gently in this vast scene, and you realize you are witnessing something ancient, something that has unsettled and soothed human beings for generations. There is no urgency here. No need to explain, to categorize, or to control. Instead, you are invited into a state of calm wonder. Just as travelers in the 19th century paused to watch these very lights with quiet awe, you too are pausing, allowing mystery to mingle with rest. Perhaps the lights are nothing more than tricks of the atmosphere, illusions created by distance and temperature. Or perhaps they are something far stranger, something beyond current understanding. For now, the answer does not matter. What matters is the experience of seeing, of being present with a phenomenon that humbles and reassures at the same time. Notice how your body responds. Shoulders dropping slightly, breathing easing, eyelids feeling heavier with the comfort of the desert's embrace. You are not being kept awake by this mystery, rather you are being guided deeper into a state of relaxation. The mind drifts between curiosity and peace, between intrigue and surrender. The Marfa Lights shimmer softly, a silent reminder that not every mystery needs to be solved before you can rest. The desert night continues to stretch around you. Hours could pass, and still the lights would appear and vanish, flicker and fade, refusing to explain themselves. In this timeless quality lies their gift, a space where the human mind can let go. Out here, questions and answers become less important than the simple act of watching, breathing, and existing in the presence of something unknown. As you prepare to journey further into the story of these lights, into their history, their legends, and the countless accounts of those who have seen them, allow yourself to remain grounded in this first impression. The desert night is calm, the air cool, the stars abundant, and the mysterious lights shimmer quietly on the horizon. You are safe, you are calm, and you are invited to step deeper into both relaxation and mystery. And so the story begins, not with answers but with wonder. Long before modern cameras and scientific studies, long before tourists gathered in folding chairs at designated viewing points, the Marfa Lights were quietly appearing in the West Texas desert. Their earliest recorded sightings trace back to the late 19th century, though local oral traditions suggest that travelers, ranchers, and indigenous peoples may have noticed them long before written records existed. In those days, the desert was a place of vast isolation where the nearest town could be miles away, and the nights were darker than anything most of us experience today. A flicker of light on the horizon could seem otherworldly, even mystical. Accounts from ranchers in the 1880s described strange, floating lights along the desert horizon. Some called them ghost lights, small orbs that appeared to move with intention, rising and dipping as if alive. Others suggested more practical explanations, campfires or distant lanterns, but even then, many witnesses insisted that what they saw could not be explained by human activity. One particularly detailed report from a local rancher mentions a series of lights that split apart, hovered, and then rejoined, performing a quiet dance that seemed almost choreographed. The rancher, accustomed to the harsh realities of frontier life, was both mesmerized and unnerved by what he observed. Indigenous communities in the region had their own understanding of mysterious desert lights. Apache and other tribes often considered flickering lights in the distance as spirits or messengers from another realm. Some stories describe the lights as wandering souls of travelers who had perished in the harsh desert, guiding or warning those who journeyed after them. While these accounts are steeped in cultural mythology, they also carry a remarkable consistency in the way the lights are described, glowing, moving unpredictably, and appearing in places where no human presence could explain them. These traditions form an essential backdrop, reminding us that the desert has long been a place of wonder, a canvas for human imagination, shaped by both environment and experience. By the early 20th century, the Marfa Lights had begun to capture broader attention. Railroad workers, drawn to the region's growing infrastructure, reported seeing similar phenomena. In letters sent to local newspapers, they described lights hovering near the horizon, sometimes colored red, sometimes yellow, occasionally green. What struck many observers was their motion, swaying, darting, and even following the movements of those who watched from a distance. Scientists today would note the consistency in these eyewitness accounts across decades, emphasizing that repeated patterns of observation lend credibility, even if the explanation remains elusive. Skeptics in these early years attributed the lights to simple atmospheric effects. Reflections from train lanterns, distant campfires, and even temperature inversions were offered as explanations. Yet, these explanations never fully satisfied those who had witnessed the lights firsthand. Why, they asked, did the lights sometimes appear in areas far from any human activity? Why did they split apart or hover in ways inconsistent with fire or reflection? The persistence of the lights, coupled with the specificity of eyewitness descriptions, ensured that curiosity about their origins only grew stronger. Even travelers who passed through Marfa without prior knowledge of the phenomenon could not help but notice it. Letters and journals from tourists visiting the area in the 1920s frequently mention the dancing lights on the horizon. One traveler described a light that seemed to pulse rhythmically, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Another recalled a faint green glow that split into two smaller orbs, hovered, and then disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. These early testimonies are important, not only because they preserve first-hand experiences, but also because they illustrate how the lights continued to captivate human perception across generations, transcending personal expectation or skepticism. As we reflect on these origins, it becomes clear that the Marfa Lights are more than a single unexplained event. They are a recurring, persistent phenomenon that interacts with human observers in ways that are subtle, intimate, and unforgettable. The earliest sightings laid the foundation for a mystery that would continue to grow, inviting speculation, observation, and wonder. Historians today note that the Marfa Lights exemplify how natural phenomena, culture, and human psychology intersect. Isolation, attentiveness, and imagination combine to shape experiences that are remembered and retold for decades. And so the lights of Marfa remain at the horizon, quietly appearing, disappearing, and reappearing. They are both ordinary and extraordinary as the desert night itself, and as extraordinary as the minds they captivate. As we continue to explore this phenomenon, we begin to see how these first glimmers in history set the stage for generations of curiosity, scientific inquiry, and folklore, a stage upon which every observer since has played a part, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Tonight, as you lie in quiet, you can imagine yourself among these early witnesses, gazing at the lights for the very first time. Their soft glow is a gentle invitation to wonder, a bridge between history and mystery. You may feel a small shiver of intrigue, a tug of imagination, but there is no fear here, only curiosity and calm, a sense of joining a long line of observers who have paused to witness something they could not fully explain. In this shared experience, time seems to bend. The 19th century rancher, the Apache traveler, the 1920s tourist, they are all present in the desert night with you, watching the same elusive shimmering lights that continue to appear along the horizon. The origins of the Marfa Lights remind us that mystery is not just a modern fascination, it is something woven into the very fabric of the land, into the lives of those who walked and lived in it long before cameras and smartphones. And it is from this point, from this long history of first glimmers and silent fascination, that we begin to unfold the story further, examining the land itself, the people, and the strange, persistent dance of lights that has mesmerized so many. To truly understand the Marfa Lights, it helps to step back and imagine the desert itself, the vast, silent, and unyielding landscape that has both shaped and sheltered them for centuries. West Texas is not merely a backdrop, it is a living character in this story, with open plains that stretch endlessly toward distant mountains, rolling hills that catch the sun by day and glow faintly under the moon at night. Here, in this wide expanse, the sky dominates everything, so vast that stars appear closer than in any city sky. The desert has its own rhythm, subtle yet persistent, the whisper of the wind through sparse vegetation, the occasional cry of a distant animal, the quiet hum of temperature changes that only a keen observer can notice. It is in this rhythm that the lights emerge, seeming almost to belong to the desert itself. Marfa, the small town that lends its name to the lights, began as a remote railroad outpost in the late 19th century. Its establishment was tied to the fortunes of the rail industry, which brought workers, supplies, and the promise of new settlements. Life in Marfa and its surrounding desert was often harsh, shaped by isolation and extreme climate. Residents became attuned to subtle changes in their environment, learning to recognize patterns of weather, light, and movement that might elude outsiders. The desert demanded attentiveness, and this heightened awareness may have contributed to the careful observation of the mysterious lights. A flicker on the horizon was not dismissed casually. It was noticed, remembered, and discussed. Indigenous perspectives also provide a fascinating layer of context. The Apache and other native groups who inhabited this region long before settlers arrived often imbued natural phenomena with spiritual meaning. Lights in the distance could represent spirits of ancestors, omens, or messages from the other world. These interpretations were not merely superstitions, they were part of a carefully attuned understanding of the landscape and its rhythms. Anthropologists and historians note that many of these traditions described lights with characteristics remarkably similar to what modern observers report: small floating orbs, sometimes in motion, sometimes still, appearing without warning. The cultural lens through which early witnesses viewed these lights shaped how the phenomenon was remembered and passed down. By the early 20th century, Marfa had grown modestly but remained remote. Ranching, farming, and railway work dominated daily life, and isolation was a constant companion. Long nights were spent under dark skies, where the stars were brighter than anywhere else on Earth. In such conditions, the human eye becomes highly sensitive to light, and the desert can seem alive in subtle ways. Ranchers and travelers who reported the lights often described a feeling of connection to the land, a sense that the lights were part of the desert's soul. They were not merely strange anomalies, they were companions in the vast, lonely night. Geography itself plays a role in the mystery. The desert's flat plains, rising hills, and distant mountains create natural optical effects, from mirages to reflections, that could explain some visual phenomena. Temperature inversions, atmospheric refraction, and the play of light over mesas and ridges all have the potential to create shapes and movements that seem intelligent or purposeful. Yet, even with these scientific possibilities, the persistence and peculiar behavior of the lights cannot be fully explained. They appear in consistent locations, at consistent distances, and often exhibit motion that seems deliberate rather than random. The desert, then, is both stage and participant, shaping perception while simultaneously hiding answers. The people of Marfa, accustomed to the desert's extremes, have long maintained a quiet reverence for its mysteries. Locals often speak of the lights not with fear, but with a mix of curiosity and acceptance. They are part of the town's identity, a natural spectacle that commands attention and respect. Farmers, ranchers, and residents who have lived here for decades describe the lights as companions to the night, sometimes dancing, sometimes hovering silently, always present, yet never intrusive. Their presence has become woven into the cultural fabric of Marfa, shaping local stories, folklore, and community identity. This combination of landscape, isolation, and cultural perspective creates a unique context for the Marfa Lights. The desert itself encourages attentiveness, reflection, and imagination. The people who inhabit or travel through it are primed to notice subtle phenomena, and the cultural interpretations, passed down through generations, provide a lens through which these lights are understood and remembered. Together, these elements form a perfect convergence: an environment, a human observer, and a mysterious phenomenon. Each is incomplete without the others, and each contributes to the enduring power of the Marfa Lights. As you imagine yourself now, walking quietly along the gravelly plains, the desert stretching endlessly in every direction, you can sense the stillness and the history that surrounds you. Perhaps a gentle breeze stirs, carrying with it the faint aroma of sage and dust. Perhaps a distant mountain catches a sliver of moonlight, or the horizon glows faintly with the promise of something unknown. In this context, the lights that appear are not merely optical tricks, they are part of the interplay between land, sky, and human consciousness. They are at once natural and mysterious, ordinary and extraordinary, calm yet deeply compelling. The frontier context of Marfa, the land, its isolation, and the people who have long called it home, lays the groundwork for the next part of the story. The eyewitness accounts that began to fill journals, letters, and personal memories over the decades. By understanding the environment and culture that shaped these early observers, we begin to see why the Marfa Lights have persisted as a mystery, captivating generations, and continuing to draw attention, curiosity, and wonder, even today. The heart of the Marfa Lights mystery lies not only in the desert itself, but in the countless eyes that have witnessed them over generations. These lights are not just abstract phenomena, they are experiences, moments shared between a solitary observer and the quiet, expansive night. From the earliest ranchers to modern travelers, the accounts are remarkably consistent, yet each carries its own nuance, a reflection of the observer's perspective, background, and the era in which they lived. As you imagine yourself in the desert, take a deep breath and let the stories unfold as if you are stepping back in time. In the 1930s, ranchers traveling along the dusty roads of West Texas frequently reported seeing lights flickering in the distance. One account describes a single orb, small and luminous, moving deliberately along the horizon. The rancher, accustomed to the land and its nocturnal rhythms, paused in awe. He noticed the light would hover for moments, then dart upward or sideways, almost as if it were aware of being watched. Unlike fire or lantern light, it did not waver with wind or flicker unevenly. It moved with a peculiar steady grace that seemed almost intentional. Even though skeptics suggested these sightings were tricks of the eye or distant train lanterns, the ranchers' detailed observations were recorded and shared with neighbors, sparking quiet intrigue across the community. By the 1940s and 1950s, as modern technology began to creep into the region, more structured accounts appeared. Pilots and military personnel stationed at nearby bases occasionally reported seeing floating lights during routine flights over the desert. They described glowing orbs that moved in ways inconsistent with any aircraft, sometimes splitting into multiple lights, sometimes converging again as if performing a silent aerial dance. Some described them as watching or tracking their movements. These reports, often included in personal logs or informal military records, added a layer of legitimacy to the phenomenon, suggesting that the lights were not merely the product of local folklore or imagination. Even ordinary travelers contributed to the growing tapestry of sightings. Tourists visiting Marfa in the 1950s and 1960s, often unaware of the local legends, described encounters that echoed those of seasoned residents. One couple recalled driving along U.S. Route 67 when a series of small colored lights appeared along the horizon. They watched in awe as the lights split into two, then merged again, hovering silently over the desert plains. The couple later admitted that the experience left them speechless for hours, a quiet wonder that lingered long after they had returned home. These accounts emphasize that the lights often behave in ways that defy simple explanation, appearing unexpectedly, moving with apparent intelligence, and leaving observers with a profound sense of awe. Psychologists studying these eyewitness accounts note something remarkable. The descriptions of the lights remain consistent across decades and demographics. People who have never met one another, from different backgrounds and levels of education, describe similar patterns of motion, similar sizes and brightness, and similar emotional responses. Many report a simultaneous sense of fear and fascination, a mixture of curiosity, awe, and gentle trepidation that is almost meditative. Some describe a feeling of connection to the desert itself, as if the lights are part of a larger living ecosystem that humans only partially perceive. Others speak of a strange calm, a subtle invitation to pause, breathe, and simply witness. Yet, there are also contradictions, and these are important. Not every observer sees the same thing, and not every account fits neatly into a pattern. Some people report seeing multiple orbs in motion, while others see a solitary glow. Colors vary from white to red to green. The lights sometimes move quickly, darting across the horizon, and at other times they linger, hovering in place for minutes. These variations are not weaknesses in the narrative. They are part of the mystery itself, suggesting a phenomenon that is dynamic, responsive, and complex. The inconsistencies remind us that the Marfa Lights are not a simple trick or illusion. They are something alive within the desert night, resistant to full comprehension. Over time, these eyewitness accounts became interwoven with local culture. Families would tell stories to children about the dancing lights seen by their grandparents, recounting the details with reverence and careful attention. Visitors who experienced the lights themselves often contributed new observations, which were quietly shared with locals, recorded in journals, or sent as letters to newspapers. Each account became a thread in a growing tapestry of collective memory, connecting generations through a shared experience of wonder and quiet awe. The lights, in this way, become more than just visual phenomena. They are carriers of human memory, curiosity, and the timeless desire to witness something beyond the ordinary. Scientific observers in the late 20th century also collected eyewitness accounts, carefully recording details of time, location, and environmental conditions. Researchers noted that sightings often occurred on clear, dark nights with minimal light pollution, conditions that enhance visibility and allow for subtle optical phenomena to manifest. They also acknowledged that, despite rigorous observation and repeated experimentation, the lights frequently behaved in ways that defied conventional explanation. Reports of splitting orbs, sudden changes in speed, and hovering behavior could not be replicated or fully accounted for. Yet, these accounts were documented meticulously, contributing to a growing body of credible testimony that continues to intrigue scientists, skeptics, and enthusiasts alike. As you imagine these stories, let your mind drift gently among the decades, feeling the continuity of human curiosity. Picture the rancher in the 1930s, pausing on a quiet dirt road, the couple in the 1950s, gripping the steering wheel in awe, the modern tourist snapping photos at the viewing center, all connected through the quiet shimmering dance of lights on the horizon. There is no rush here, no need for resolution. Instead, there is an invitation to observe, to wonder, and to rest in the presence of something ancient, persistent, and quietly alive. The eyewitness accounts across generations form a bridge between history and mystery, showing us that the Marfa Lights are more than fleeting phenomena. They are enduring experiences, moments in which humans encounter the unknown and are changed, often subtly, always profoundly. As we move forward into the story, these accounts set the stage for scientific scrutiny, government attention, and modern investigations, reminding us that the lights are not simply folklore, but a persistent, captivating presence that continues to elude explanation. While the Marfa Lights have long captivated the imagination of locals and travelers alike, they have also drawn the attention of scientists, skeptics, and government observers, seeking rational explanations. By the mid-20th century, as UFO sightings became a subject of broader interest during the Cold War era, Marfa found itself quietly on the radar of investigators. What began as folklore and personal testimony was gradually approached with formal methods of observation, measurement, and documentation. Yet even with these tools, the mystery persisted, proving more elusive than anyone could have predicted. One of the first attempts to study the lights systematically came from local universities in Texas during the 1970s. Researchers set up observation posts along the desert plains, equipped with cameras, binoculars, and scientific instruments designed to record temperature, humidity, and atmospheric conditions. They cataloged hundreds of sightings, noting patterns in movement, brightness, and timing. Some scientists suggested that car headlights along U.S. Route 67 could account for many reports, especially on clear nights when light travels farther than expected across the desert's flat expanses. Others proposed temperature inversions, or mirage effects, as potential explanations, phenomena that can bend light and create illusions of hovering or moving orbs. Despite these explanations, many observations remained inconsistent with simple atmospheric effects. Witnesses often reported the lights splitting, merging, or hovering in place, behaviors not typical of reflections, headlights, or other optical illusions. Some nights would produce multiple sightings with varying colors, from red to green to yellow, adding another layer of complexity. Researchers acknowledged these discrepancies, noting that while certain reports could be explained through conventional means, the light's behavior was not fully accounted for by known physical laws or environmental conditions. In essence, the Marfa Lights straddled the line between natural phenomenon and unexplained mystery, inviting careful observation without yielding definitive answers. Government attention arrived quietly but significantly. During the Cold War, the U.S. Air Force and other agencies were deeply concerned about unusual lights and aerial phenomena, often linking them to potential national security threats. Marfa's isolated desert location, coupled with reports of glowing orbs, placed it under sporadic scrutiny. Declassified documents reveal that the military occasionally monitored the area, collecting anecdotal and photographic evidence. Official reports frequently concluded that the lights were likely caused by distant automobile headlights, atmospheric reflections, or other natural phenomena. Yet the same reports often included witness statements that contradicted these conclusions, noting sudden movements, color changes, or split orbs that seemed to defy simple explanation. This tension between institutional skepticism and first-hand observation has become a defining feature of the Marfa Lights narrative. Journalistic coverage added another layer to the story. Local newspapers in the mid-20th century began publishing accounts of sightings, sometimes drawing attention to the scientific studies, sometimes highlighting the eerie, unexplainable qualities of the lights. Articles balanced rational explanations with witness testimony, often framing the phenomenon as a mystery of the West Texas night. Readers were encouraged to visit the desert themselves, experiencing firsthand what many described as an almost meditative encounter with the unknown. These reports helped solidify the light's reputation, both as a scientific curiosity and as a cultural icon, drawing attention from skeptics, researchers, and the casually curious alike. One particularly notable study from the 1970s involved long-term photographic documentation. Cameras were set up to capture images at intervals throughout the night, aiming to track the movements, duration, and intensity of the lights. While some images did reveal patterns consistent with distant vehicles, other photographs captured orbs that moved in ways that could not be explained by headlights or other known sources. Scientists noted that the light's trajectories sometimes defied expected paths of reflected or refracted light, reinforcing the idea that a portion of the phenomenon remained unexplained. These studies, while not offering a definitive solution, were essential in demonstrating that the Marfa Lights were not merely myth or imagination. They were a real observable phenomenon worthy of careful study. Skeptics, of course, remain vocal. Some argue that human perception is prone to error, especially in low-light conditions where the brain can fill in gaps with expectation or imagination. Others note that the desert environment itself, its vast emptiness, extreme temperatures, and subtle visual cues, can create illusions that are convincing to even experienced observers. While these critiques are important and scientifically valid, they cannot fully account for the consistency and longevity of the reports. Across decades, people of different backgrounds, education levels, and experiences continue to report sightings with remarkable similarity, suggesting that the phenomenon is not purely psychological or coincidental. Ultimately, the interplay between scientific study, government scrutiny, and witness testimony creates a rich, layered understanding of the Marfa Lights. The lights exist in a space between explanation and mystery, where careful observation meets inexplicable behavior. They challenge both our senses and our assumptions, inviting calm curiosity rather than fear or urgency. For those lying quietly under the vast West Texas sky, the knowledge that experts, skeptics, and authorities have all observed, studied, and puzzled over these lights adds a subtle weight of credibility, without diminishing the quiet wonder of simply witnessing them. As you imagine yourself watching from the desert tonight, perhaps at the edge of the gravel road, the glow of the Marfa Lights appears once again. You can sense the careful eyes of scientists peering from cameras, the historical records of ranchers and travelers, documenting each flicker, and the official reports quietly noting the inexplicable. And yet, despite decades of scrutiny, the lights remain elusive, a gentle reminder that some mysteries are meant to linger, to be observed without the demand for immediate understanding. The Marfa Lights, in this context, are not just optical phenomenon or unexplained anomalies. They are a bridge between human curiosity, scientific inquiry, and the timeless desert night, a space where calm observation and quiet wonder coexist. As we move forward into more speculative and paranormal theories, the foundation of science and skepticism provides a grounding, allowing the imagination to drift freely, while still anchored in decades of careful attention, study, and reflection. While science and government reports attempt to explain the Marfa Lights through rational means, a quieter, more imaginative current has persisted alongside these efforts. These are the stories that explore the possibility that the lights are not merely atmospheric or optical phenomena, but rather something extraordinary, perhaps even otherworldly. For generations, local residents, visitors, and enthusiasts have speculated about the paranormal nature of these glimmering orbs. Theories range from ghostly apparitions to extraterrestrial presence, each offering a different lens through which to view the desert's persistent mystery. As you listen, allow your mind to drift gently into this realm of possibility, where curiosity is calm and imagination flows naturally. Some of the earliest paranormal interpretations come from local folklore. Ranchers and townspeople described the lights as spirits of travelers who had perished in the harsh desert landscape, unable to complete their journeys. These wandering souls were thought to appear as glowing orbs, moving with intention, sometimes near the paths of current travelers, sometimes appearing silently in remote areas. In these stories, the lights were not frightening, but subtly watchful, guardians of the desert, reminders of the land's history, and those who had traversed it before. Psychologists and anthropologists note that such explanations often serve a comforting role, transforming fear or uncertainty into narrative and meaning. In a desert so vast and lonely, the idea of a gentle, guiding presence becomes both soothing and enduring. As UFO culture began to gain traction in the mid-20th century, extraterrestrial explanations became increasingly prominent. Observers began suggesting that the lights might be evidence of alien craft silently monitoring the Earth, or perhaps energy manifestations of advanced technology beyond current human understanding. Some accounts describe the lights splitting into multiple orbs, hovering in ways inconsistent with known aerial vehicles, or moving at speeds and angles that defy explanation. While these ideas are speculative, they have been embraced by enthusiasts because they offer a way to explain behavior that traditional science struggles to account for. In this interpretation, the lights are intelligent, responsive, and deliberately elusive, a subtle yet compelling form of communication or observation. Others have proposed interdimensional or plasma-based theories. Some researchers suggest that the lights could be manifestations of rare natural phenomena, such as ball lightning or plasma fields, occurring in conditions unique to the West Texas desert. These theories merge science with speculation, allowing for phenomena that behave unpredictably, while still grounding the discussion in natural laws. Witnesses who experience the lights often report a sense of presence, an impression that the orbs are aware of observers, sometimes following movements or reacting to attention. Such reports inspire contemplation, whether the lights are spirits, advanced technology, or unexplained energy. They seem to interact with humans in subtle, gentle ways that encourage observation and reflection, rather than alarm. Local enthusiasts have also observed patterns in the light's appearance that fuel speculation. Some note that the lights are more likely to appear during certain atmospheric conditions, or at particular times of year, suggesting a rhythm or cycle. Others report that the orbs sometimes seem to respond when people try to focus their attention on them, darting suddenly, or changing color. While skeptics attribute these variations to perception and optical effects, those who spend long nights watching the lights find the behavior remarkable, hypnotic, and deeply captivating. There is a meditative quality to observing the orbs, a rhythm of anticipation and calm that mirrors the natural ebb and flow of the desert night itself. Paranormal investigators have occasionally visited the region, documenting experiences with infrared cameras, audio recorders, and motion sensors. Some claim to capture evidence of movement or energy that cannot be fully explained, while others find nothing unusual at all. This duality reinforces the mysterious nature of the lights, sometimes tangible, sometimes elusive, always enigmatic. In this way, the lights maintain a delicate balance. They are real enough to be observed, yet fleeting enough to evade full understanding. Observers, whether paranormal enthusiasts or casual visitors, are invited into a quiet dance with the unknown, a gentle engagement with a phenomenon that resists definition. These interpretations, ghostly, extraterrestrial, or energy-based, serve more than entertainment. They encourage wonder, reflection, and calm curiosity. Unlike sensationalized accounts, the focus here is not fear or shock, It is the quiet, patient observation of something that exists beyond ordinary understanding. Listeners are encouraged to imagine, not to panic, to wonder, not to insist on answers. In a world dominated by information and explanation, the lights offer a rare opportunity to experience uncertainty with comfort, allowing the mind to drift freely, to explore possibility, while remaining grounded in a safe, serene environment. The coexistence of scientific inquiry and speculative interpretation is part of the Marfa Lights' enduring charm. While instruments and cameras may record data, and historians may document eyewitness accounts, the human experience of the lights, how they evoke awe, curiosity, and a sense of connection to something larger, remains central. Theories about spirits or aliens are not presented here as absolute truth, but as part of a tapestry of understanding that blends observation, imagination, and cultural meaning. They are threads in a story that is both factual and experiential, offering a gentle invitation for the mind to wander, the eyes to observe, and the heart to marvel. As you lie quietly under the West Texas sky, imagine the lights appearing once again, pulsing softly, moving gracefully across the horizon. Whether they are spirits of the desert, extraterrestrial observers, or energy phenomena beyond current science, their presence is soothing rather than alarming. They invite reflection, calm curiosity, and a gentle sense of wonder. For centuries, humans have observed these orbs, pondered their origins, and found themselves mesmerized by their quiet, deliberate movements. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you become part of that continuum, an observer of the unknown, participating in a story that has stretched across generations and will continue to unfold with each new witness. The Marfa Lights, in this paranormal and speculative context, remind us that mystery is as much about experience as explanation. They are not simply objects to be measured or catalogued. They are invitations to pause, reflect, and engage with the unknown in a calm, serene, and deeply personal way. And as we move forward in the story, we will explore how these lights have influenced culture, inspired art and media, and continued to captivate those who venture into the desert night, seeking both wonder and rest. The Marfa Lights are not only a natural and mysterious phenomenon. They are also a cultural touchstone woven deeply into the identity of West Texas and the imagination of those who hear their story. Over decades, these flickering orbs have inspired folklore, art, literature, and media, creating a tapestry of meaning that extends far beyond the desert itself. To understand their cultural influence is to recognize how mystery can move from the horizon of a quiet desert into the collective consciousness of a community, and even into the world at large. Local folklore has been the earliest and most intimate layer of cultural influence. Ranchers and residents have long told stories about the lights to children, newcomers, and travelers, each tale tinged with gentle awe and caution. These stories often depict the lights as playful or watchful spirits, guardians of the desert, who appear at dusk or in the late hours of night. Children growing up in Marfa learn that the lights are a natural part of the landscape, worthy of respect and fascination. Families recount past sightings, connecting generations through shared experience. In this way, the lights are both a living mystery and a cultural tradition, blending observation with imagination in a form that is calm, soothing, and enduring. The influence of the Marfa Lights extends into literature and storytelling. Writers and journalists, throughout the 20th century, chronicled sightings, blending factual reporting with lyrical description to capture the wonder of the phenomenon. Books about unexplained mysteries and paranormal events often feature the lights as emblematic of the desert's quiet strangeness. Novels and short stories set in West Texas sometimes include subtle nods to these glowing orbs, weaving them into narratives that explore isolation, mystery, and the human encounter with the unknown. The lights serve as both setting and character, a natural spectacle that shapes mood, atmosphere, and thematic resonance. Artists, too, have been drawn to the Marfa Lights. Painters and photographers often attempt to capture the orb's elusive glow, seeking to convey their movement and mystery in static media. Installations and exhibitions sometimes feature references to the lights, blending natural observation with abstract interpretation. In this sense, the lights function as a bridge between the natural and the artistic, a source of inspiration that invites contemplation, meditation, and creative exploration. For viewers or readers, the lights evoke calm and curiosity, encouraging them to linger on the edge of the mysterious, to contemplate what lies beyond immediate understanding. Media coverage, both local and national, has played a significant role in shaping the public's perception of the Marfa Lights. In the mid-20th century, newspapers published eyewitness accounts, alongside skeptical analysis, framing the lights as a mystery of West Texas nights. Later, television documentaries and radio features introduced wider audiences to the phenomenon, often emphasizing its beauty, strangeness, and inexplicable qualities, rather than sensationalizing fear. Modern internet culture continues this trend, with travel blogs, YouTube channels, and social media posts showcasing both the lights themselves and the serene experience of observing them. Across all forms of media, the focus is consistent. The lights are mesmerizing, calming, and profoundly intriguing. Tourism has also been deeply shaped by the Marfa Lights. Visitors arrive from across the world, drawn by the combination of mystery, natural beauty, and cultural lore. Viewing areas have been established where travelers can sit quietly, sip warm drinks, and watch the horizon in anticipation. Local businesses and guides provide context, sharing stories, historical accounts, and theories in ways that balance curiosity with calm observation. Tourists often report that the experience is meditative, a form of sensory rest that engages the imagination while promoting relaxation. The lights, in this sense, function as both cultural artifact and experiential phenomenon, connecting people to place, history, and the unknown. Musicians and performers have also incorporated the Marfa Lights into their work. Ambient compositions, folk songs, and contemporary tracks sometimes reference the lights, evoking their gentle flicker, their mysterious movement, and their connection to the desert night. In performances and recordings, the lights become symbols of wonder, of quiet contemplation, and of humanity's enduring fascination with phenomena beyond understanding. Audiences are invited to experience a similar calm curiosity, a subtle blend of intrigue and relaxation that mirrors the experience of observing the lights firsthand. The cultural influence of the Marfa Lights extends beyond entertainment or folklore. It reflects a broader human impulse to find meaning in mystery. By inspiring stories, art, music, and shared observation, the lights encourage reflection, imagination, and calm curiosity. They remind us that not every phenomenon needs to be solved or explained to hold significance. In the case of Marfa, the lights have become emblematic of the intersection between nature, culture, and human perception, a gentle, persistent symbol of wonder that continues to draw attention and inspire reverence. As you lie quietly under the imagined West Texas sky, envision the lights flickering on the horizon, just as generations of locals, travelers, artists, and writers have witnessed them. Consider how these glowing orbs have shaped the stories people tell, the songs they sing, and the art they create. Imagine the quiet, patient anticipation of families sharing tales around the desert, tourists settling onto benches to watch the horizon, and artists attempting to capture something elusive, yet deeply compelling. In each instance, the lights serve as a connective thread, linking the natural world with human creativity, curiosity, and the desire to witness something greater than ourselves. In this cultural lens, the Marfa Lights are no longer just a scientific or paranormal curiosity. They are a shared human experience. They carry history, imagination, and observation, blending the ordinary and the extraordinary into moments that are deeply personal, yet universally resonant. They remind us that wonder is not confined to distant galaxies or mystical realms. It can flicker quietly on the horizon of a desert night, inviting calm reflection, meditation, and curiosity. As we move into modern investigations and contemporary perspectives, it becomes clear that the cultural impact of the lights continues to evolve. New technologies, broader audiences, and ongoing observation ensure that the Marfa Lights remain not only a mystery of the past, but also a living phenomenon, shaping experiences, inspiring stories, and offering quiet, contemplative engagement with the unknown. As the 21st century dawned, the Marfa Lights continued to captivate observers, but the tools available for studying them had evolved dramatically. High-resolution cameras, night vision equipment, drones, and long-range observation tools allowed researchers, enthusiasts, and even casual tourists to document the lights with unprecedented precision. Modern investigations brought a more rigorous approach to a phenomenon long shrouded in mystery, blending technology with centuries of eyewitness experience. Yet, despite these advances, the lights retained their enigmatic quality, quietly resisting full explanation and continuing to inspire awe. One of the most notable advancements has been the use of long-exposure photography and time-lapse imaging. By capturing the lights over extended periods, researchers can study movement, duration, and behavior patterns in detail. Photographs reveal orbs that appear suddenly, hover for minutes, split into multiple lights, and sometimes vanish entirely without any apparent cause. In many instances, the lights behave in ways inconsistent with known sources of light, such as vehicles or reflections. These observations reinforce the idea that the phenomenon is not merely an optical illusion, but something more complex, perhaps connected to environmental, electromagnetic, or even unknown natural processes. Night vision and infrared technology have allowed modern observers to study the lights in complete darkness. Some investigators report detecting faint heat signatures or energy fluctuations associated with the orbs, though these readings are subtle and inconsistent. While skeptics argue that such results are often inconclusive or subject to technical limitations, proponents note that the use of modern technology adds credibility to the phenomenon, offering measurable data alongside traditional eyewitness accounts. The combination of subjective experience and technological observation provides a unique lens, blending human perception with objective study. Drones have added another layer of investigation, providing aerial perspectives that were impossible for earlier observers. By following the lights from above, researchers can analyze movement patterns, speeds, and trajectories. In some cases, drones have captured the light's erratic, almost playful motion, moving in ways that defy conventional aerial physics. Observers often describe a sense of interaction during these investigations, as if the lights are aware of being watched or recorded. Whether this is a psychological effect of anticipation or a genuine aspect of the phenomenon remains an open question, adding to the light's enduring allure. In addition to equipment-based studies, citizen science initiatives have emerged. Visitors and enthusiasts often contribute observations, photographs, and videos to collaborative databases. These collective efforts allow for large-scale pattern analysis, providing insights into when and where the lights most frequently appear. Researchers note that sightings tend to occur under specific atmospheric conditions, clear skies, low humidity, and certain temperature ranges. While these findings offer partial explanation, they do not fully account for the light's unpredictable behavior, suggesting a complex interplay between environmental factors and phenomenon not yet understood. Government and academic interest persists as well. Periodic studies, conducted by universities, private research groups, and even small government initiatives, continue to monitor the area. These investigations are careful and methodical, employing statistical analysis, environmental monitoring, and rigorous documentation. Some results support conventional explanations, such as vehicle lights and atmospheric reflections. Yet, many observations defy easy categorization. Reports of splitting orbs, hovering movements, and color changes remain, demonstrating that even with advanced technology, the Marfa Lights retain an element of the unexplained. This combination of measurable data and persistent mystery is what makes modern investigations both compelling and humbling. Media coverage has adapted to include these technological approaches. Documentaries and digital platforms highlight long-exposure photography, infrared footage, and drone captures, providing audiences with an intimate view of the light's behavior. Viewers are often encouraged to experience the lights firsthand, blending observation with narrative. The focus is no longer purely on sensational mystery, it is on the interplay between careful study, awe-inspiring visuals, and the serene experience of witnessing the unknown. Modern technology amplifies the light's presence, yet it does not diminish their quiet, calming allure. Beyond observation, modern investigations encourage reflection on perception itself. The Marfa Lights remind us that human senses are limited, and that even with advanced instruments, some phenomena resist complete understanding. The combination of atmospheric conditions, psychological response, and subtle energy patterns creates a complex tableau that is difficult to fully decipher. Yet in this uncertainty lies a unique kind of peace, the opportunity to observe, to reflect, and to engage with something beyond ordinary experience. Witnesses often describe a meditative quality to nights spent observing the lights, a quiet rhythm of anticipation and calm that mirrors the desert itself. For those lying quietly beneath the West Texas sky, the modern investigations provide reassurance. The lights are observed, recorded, and studied, yet they remain free, unclaimed by explanation, retaining their subtle magic. Technology does not cage them, it merely frames them, allowing the observer to participate more fully in a dialogue that stretches across generations, from the ranchers and indigenous observers of the 19th century, to modern tourists and researchers capturing images on drones and infrared cameras. Each observation adds a layer to the ongoing story, contributing to a narrative that blends science, history, culture, and mystery. As you imagine yourself watching tonight, perhaps seated on a folding chair at a designated viewing area, or lying quietly on a blanket under the stars, you can sense the rhythm of the desert, the movement of the lights, and the weight of centuries of observation. The lights flicker gently, hover silently, and sometimes split or shift, evoking curiosity, calm, and quiet wonder. Modern investigations, while meticulous and advanced, do not dispel this feeling. They enhance it, reminding observers that mystery can coexist with reason, that awe and inquiry are not mutually exclusive, and that even in a world dominated by technology, some phenomena retain the ability to inspire calm reflection. The Marfa Lights, as observed through modern technology, illustrate a delicate balance between explanation and mystery, science and experience, observation and imagination. They remain an invitation to pause, to notice, and to engage with the unknown in a way that is serene, contemplative, and deeply personal. And as the story moves toward its conclusion, we will reflect on the cumulative experience of these lights, the history, the witnesses, the science, the speculation, and the cultural impact, allowing the listener to carry both calm and wonder into the quiet hours of sleep. As the night deepens over the West Texas desert, the Marfa Lights continue their quiet dance along the horizon. By now, after centuries of observation, investigation, and storytelling, it is clear that these lights resist simple explanation. They are at once ordinary and extraordinary, fleeting yet persistent, natural yet seemingly imbued with something beyond our immediate understanding. In this reflection, we pause not to solve the mystery, but to appreciate it, to let the lights guide us gently into calm contemplation and restful imagination. Across generations, countless observers have witnessed the lights and carried their impressions forward, creating a rich tapestry of memory and experience. Ranchers, travelers, indigenous peoples, tourists, scientists, and paranormal enthusiasts have all interacted with the phenomenon in their own ways. Some have sought rational explanations, recording movement patterns, environmental conditions, and photographic evidence. Others have embraced the mystery, allowing the lights to inspire awe, curiosity, and even gentle wonder. What unites all observers, however, is the same quiet reaction, a sense of connection to something larger, something timeless, hovering just beyond the edge of comprehension. The Marfa Lights invite reflection on the nature of observation itself. Human perception is inherently limited, shaped by environment, expectation, and cultural context. Yet the consistency of sightings, spanning centuries and demographics, suggests that the phenomenon is real and persistent. Even when analyzed through modern technology, drones, infrared cameras, long-exposure photography, the lights retain an elusive quality. They appear on their own terms, at their own pace, offering glimpses rather than full disclosure. This restraint is part of their allure, a gentle reminder that not every mystery is meant to be solved, and that some experiences are valuable, precisely because they defy final explanation. Psychologically, the lights have a unique effect on observers. Many describe a sense of calm curiosity, a subtle meditative state induced by watching the slow, unpredictable movement of glowing orbs in the night. The experience encourages mindfulness, drawing attention to the present moment, the rustle of the wind, the shifting colors of the lights, the vast expanse of stars above. Even in the age of screens and constant information, the desert offers a space of quiet reflection, where mystery is not threatening but inviting. The lights become a companion in this stillness, their gentle glow fostering calm, contemplation, and restful engagement with the unknown. Culturally, the Marfa Lights serve as a bridge between past and present. They carry the memories of those who have observed them across generations, from indigenous stories to frontier accounts, from mid-20th century newspaper articles to modern social media posts and documentaries. Each observation, each story, each recording adds to a collective understanding that blends history, imagination, and personal experience. The lights are a living symbol of curiosity and wonder, a phenomenon that both inspires and humbles, reminding us that the desert holds secrets that are as enduring as they are elusive. The cumulative effect of scientific study, eyewitness testimony, folklore, paranormal speculation, and modern technology is a phenomenon that is both credible and mysterious. Official reports, rigorous studies, and technological measurements lend legitimacy to the lights, while folklore, artistic interpretations, and paranormal theories maintain their enchanting, almost mystical presence. This duality is rare. The lights are simultaneously grounded in observation and elevated by imagination, offering a rich, multifaceted experience for anyone willing to watch quietly, breathe slowly, and allow themselves to be present in the desert night. As you lie in the calm of the evening, imagining the desert stretching endlessly around you, allow yourself to feel the rhythm of the lights. They rise and fall, split and merge, flicker softly, and vanish unexpectedly, yet they always return. Each movement is gentle, deliberate, and soothing. There is no rush, no urgency, only the quiet, patient presence of something ancient and persistent. You may feel a sense of connection to all who have witnessed these lights before, a subtle thread linking you to centuries of observers who have paused, watched, and wondered under the same vast star-filled sky. The mystery of the Marfa Lights is in many ways a meditation on the limits of understanding and the beauty of curiosity. Some questions remain unanswered. What causes the lights? Why do they behave as they do? And what is their ultimate origin? These questions, however, are not obstacles to appreciation. They are invitations. They encourage calm exploration, gentle observation, and quiet wonder. There is comfort in not knowing, in allowing the lights to remain a living mystery that exists beyond immediate explanation, available to all who choose to watch and reflect. In this moment, as the desert night envelops you, and the lights continue their soft, mesmerizing dance, it becomes clear that their power lies not just in what they are, but in what they do. They inspire attention, curiosity, and calm. They create space for reflection and imagination, for the gentle surrender to mystery that is rarely found in the hurried pace of modern life. They are companions in the stillness, silent guides that encourage observation without judgment, patience without expectation, and awe without fear. And so, the Marfa Lights remain, timeless and persistent, dancing quietly along the horizon. They are history, science, folklore, speculation, and art, all converging in a soft glow on a dark desert night. They remind us that the world contains phenomena that defy simple categorization, that some experiences are valuable precisely because they cannot be fully explained, and that there is profound beauty in the unknown. For those lying quietly, under the vast West Texas sky, the lights offer a gentle, calming presence, a final, serene invitation to pause, to wonder, and to drift slowly into rest. As your eyes grow heavy, and your breathing slows, picture the lights flickering one last time on the horizon. Their soft glow gradually fades into the vastness of the night, leaving a sense of peace, calm, and quiet curiosity. The desert keeps its secrets, the lights continue their eternal dance, and you are part of a lineage of observers who have paused to witness the subtle, mesmerizing beauty of something that exists beyond immediate understanding. And in this quiet moment, you drift comfortably towards sleep, cradled by the mystery, serenity, and gentle rhythm of the Marfa Lights.